So today we're talking pain because oftentimes you may have decided that you want to have a home birth, but you're wondering to yourself, how am I even going to be able to handle this? Like, there's so much pain involved in childbirth. Like, am I going to be able to cope without drugs? Like, what happens if I can't do it and I have to transfer? Well, I'm here to tell you something. First of all, pain in childbirth is very different from any other pain that you've been taught. So it's not a tooth extraction, okay? It's not even on the same level as a tooth extraction. A tooth extraction is something that your body is not wanting you to do. It is not a release of something. It is an actual invasion, and your body's saying, hey, what the hell? This is not okay, and something's wrong. That's your body signaling. So your nerves actually serve a purpose to signal for your body to do something, either move away from the thing that's causing the damage to your body or to surrender to it. So think about the pain with gas for one thing. If you have gas or you need to go to the bathroom, then you're obviously going to have a signal in your body that says, hey, we need to evacuate this and we need to do something to move it along. And otherwise, if you continue to hold on to it, it just gets worse. In fact, recently I saw something on social media, and it was about this woman who didn't want to fart in front of her boyfriend. And so she held in her gas all weekend. And what happened is she was in so much pain by the end of it that she actually had to be wheeled around in a wheelchair so that gas could escape, because she had blocked like colon basically. So you really don't want to do that. And the same thing with childbirth pain. If you are tensing up and holding back, you're not releasing. So there's this thing called the fear, tension, pain cycle. And this is something I learned about when I was researching, because I wanted a home birth, but I also wanted it to be less painful. I didn't want to suffer through it. And there's a big difference between being able to handle the pain and suffering needlessly, right? So I really wanted to learn how to handle the pain. So that was one of the first things I Googled as a first-time mom, was how to handle the pain during a natural birth, especially when at home, where I wouldn't have access to the gas and I wouldn't have access to any pain medication. If I suddenly realized, oh my God, I can't handle this, I'd have to go to the hospital. So I really wanted to understand that. And sure, there are techniques you can try. So there's a TENS machine, there's water immersion, there's movement, obviously, that's a good one. Counter pressure is another one. But the thing that these all have in common is it focuses your mind off of, oh my God, this contraction is so awful and I'm going to tense up and freak out. And instead you're relaxing. So the idea is that your body is signaling with this pain in childbirth to get you to release. And this is why a lot of times when people say, oh, don't push at any point until the doctor tells you that you're dilated enough. I hate that, because the truth is that your body is going to open up at certain points and it's going to signal for you to push at certain points, even just a teeny tiny little bit. And if you're resisting that, you're going to have more pain. So a lot of times when I hear from moms who have said, I wasn't allowed to push, the doctor said I couldn't push, and it was so excruciating to hold back and resist what my body was doing. That's because your body is saying, hey, stop resisting. You need to keep moving this forward. You need to let go. And if you're holding back, you're tensing up. And then when you're tensing up, you're going to feel more pain. So I actually experimented with this in my labor with my second child when I was having a home birth with Michaela. Okay, so you understand you need to release in order to not feel the pain. And I noticed the same thing, is that the most painful part of my birth was when I was resisting or just before the head was coming out. And that was because the bulging bag of waters, I wasn't prepared for that. And as soon as I realized that I needed to actually push down, those waters released, and then it wasn't painful anymore. I could actually handle it. So the crowning part wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the bulging bag of waters, which I wasn't sure of. I wasn't prepared for. And I finally decided to just bear down. When I bore down, what happened is that bubble popped and baby's head was there, no more pressure, and baby was almost out. And the same thing, if you're resisting pushing because you think that it's not time yet, because you need to know how dilated you are, you don't. Because at certain points, your body might even urge you to push a little bit to help with dilation. So that old saying with, it's like, oh, don't push until the doctor says it's okay, is so wrong. It's against physiological birth. So what I'm really teaching you is how to work with your body for a physiological birth. When I talk about moving with the rhythms of your body, I don't just mean getting up and swaying. Sometimes it's as simple as getting in the pool, moving around, shifting your hips a little bit, leaning forward when you need to, leaning back when you need to. If you feel like you're getting the burning ring of fire for tearing and you're like, I'm afraid I'm going to tear right now, that's your body signaling you need to shift your position. Or maybe your instinct is to close your legs during a surge. That's okay too. Your body is signaling for you to do that. Maybe your urge is to get on hands and knees. Well, if you've got a care provider who's like, no, get back on your back so that this monitor can be attached to you because we don't like that position, it's going against your physiology. If you're being told to push while on your back, that's going against your physiology if your body and your instincts are telling you that you need to be on hands and knees. So this is why I say you need to hire the right care provider. You need to understand physiology of birth. You need to have the right education to do that. You need to have the right mindset going in. Not birth has to happen only one way, but birth can happen in a multitude of different ways. And it's your job to recognize what your body needs. And in order to do that, you need to understand that the pain in childbirth actually has a purpose. It's not there just because you're being punished for having gotten pregnant in the first place. That is a patriarchal notion, and it is completely unfounded because women can have orgasmic births. They can have births with very little pain. I myself noticed more pain when I was being interrupted in my birth process than when I was left to my own devices. So I noticed that I wasn't in any pain with Michaela's birth. I was very much like, oh, there's a little bit of pressure. And then I'd experiment. So I clenched my jaw and I'd tighten up during a contraction deliberately to see how it was. Because a lot of times when you see on the monitor, like in the hospitals, if you are on the monitor, you can tell that a contraction is coming. And the nurse will be like, oh, here's another one that's coming. And then you're going to freak out and you're going to go, and it's going to be way worse than if you're just following your rhythm. And it's like, yeah, I know, because I can tell that it's coming on and I'm ready for it. And let's do this. And as soon as I get to the top of that roller coaster or the top of that wave or top of that peak or whatever visualization you need to do, as you recognize that you're climbing up there, and then all of a sudden you come down, right? Yeah, the wave comes up, peak, down, and then it's nothing. Nothing's there. There's no pain at that point. If you have back labor, that means baby needs to turn in a different position. And if baby needs to shift a different position, there's lots of things you can try. You can try counter pressure. You can try spinning babies, but sometimes it's just a method of just getting on your hands and knees and giving baby that cradle. Because now suddenly, instead of being upright, the baby now is able to lay back and turn easier than if they're standing on their head. Okay? So that's one way that you can ease back labor, is being on your hands and knees. And then adding counter pressure to that also opens up your hips. See, pain, again, as I said, is all about letting go. It's all about facilitating what is happening. Now, pain in childbirth when it's like physiological is way different from Pitocin. So Pitocin is hijacking your body. Okay, it's hijacking the physiological process. In fact, some nurses even think that hyperstimulation of the uterus with Pitocin is what Pitocin is made for. It's not. If you need Pitocin, it's just supposed to get your uterus to kickstart. But so many times people just turn up the Pitocin So Pitocin basically just like hijacks the process, and it's like boom, 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 one contraction after the other, over and over and over again. Doesn't matter what the intensity is, because they're not even going by what your body needs or the physiology. So yeah, it's going to be a lot more painful. You're also not going to have those endorphins. Same thing if they break your waters. Your waters weren't meant to release at that point. Otherwise, they would have released already. So another one, cervical checks. Those are not what your body needs, and it's not what your body is prepared for. Your cervix doesn't want things going up. Your cervix is designed to push things out. So your cervix doesn't want fingers up there. Your cervix is going to all of a sudden signal to you that that's painful and you don't want that, and maybe don't do that again. So when you're trying to cope with the pain of a cervix check, first of all, maybe just don't have that. Or if you feel that you need them, well, then that's a time that's like, if you really feel that you need that, you might want pain management for that. You might not want to have a physiological birth, and you're having a hospital birth in that case. So one of the things that I do suggest that you do, though, for coping is recognizing that your body is going to go through this process, and it's going to take as long as it takes. And the more you work with it instead of against it, the better off you're going to be. You could even have an orgasmic birth. Okay. So if you're curious about that, Orgasmic Childbirth is a book that you can get. It's from Deborah Pascali-Bonaro, and I have it as Kindle, so I can't show you it because it's on Kindle. I will eventually have a physical copy, but that book is really helpful. Another one that I found incredibly helpful is this one, Painless Childbirth. It's a little bit woo-woo, but at the same time, it goes into the different chakras. It has some visualization techniques that you can try. It also has some affirmations. If affirmations seem to be something that help you, this book is full of affirmations. And then the other one, you know what I'm going to say. Reclaiming Childbirth as a Rite of Passage. It talks all about physiological birth. So it will really help you understand what's going on with your body at certain points, so that you're not afraid and you're not worrying that something's wrong just because there's a little bit of pain, or just because maybe there's not enough pain. And you're wondering, are things even picking up? Because you could actually go your entire labor and think, I'm only in early labor, only to then hit transition and be like, oh my God, this is active labor. I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this. Like, these are getting way more intense now. And then you're done. So birth is going to take its own process, depending on your own anatomy, your own physiology, your own state of mind, how much you're resisting, where the baby is in position to your pelvis, and how things are progressing, what outside distractions you have, what other people around you are doing or not doing. So if you are basically in a hospital setting, as I said, it's way different than home birth. And one more story before we go is that I noticed this. The more I got distracted in that hospital birth, the more I was frustrated, and I finally took the gas. At home, I was able to get into that trance without the gas, because I was able to get into my own head, my own body, and be able to really get into that rhythm. So I didn't realize how quickly labor progressed until after it was over, and I went back and I looked at my text messages and found the timeline. I didn't actually know that it was 10 minutes from hitting transition to my waters releasing until I went back and checked, because time has no meaning when you are in labor. This is why I say you need to have someone to hold space for you. All right, I will talk about this some more another time, but I hope that that helped you today. So I will see you soon, and just have a great day. All right.